I never meant to destroy a billionaire's life, but the moment he knocked on my door, I realized he had come to rewrite mine. Before we begin, tell us in the comments what city are you watching from, and don't forget to rate this story from 0 to 10 at the end. Enjoy the story. Sophia Alexander always believed that her big break would come from a glamorous travel vlog, a celebrity interview, or maybe even a scandal involving Lagos nightlife. She never imagined it would begin with her best friend calling her at 7:42 a.m. on a Monday while she was still half asleep and clinging to the last slice of bread in her fridge. "Sophia, you're not going to believe this," Talia said, breathless. Sophia sat up. "If it's not credit alert or a miracle, please let me sleep." "No, listen," Talia whispered, as if someone could hear her over the phone. "My boss, Shawn Khalifa, is a 30-year-old billionaire and a virgin." Sophia blinked. What?" Talia continued like she'd been waiting her whole life to spill this tea. "He's rich, brilliant, fine as sin, and he cannot talk to a woman without malfunctioning. I swear this man could buy the entire banana island if he wanted, but let a woman stand too close and he freezes like the NEPA light went off." Sophia burst into laughter. "You mean socially awkward?" "Socially awkward is generous," Talia said. "He's complicated, closed off, cold, shut down. The man uses silence like self-defense." Sophia leaned back, already imagining a headline: "The Virgin Billionaire of Banana Island." Her blog was struggling, her views were dropping, and rent was looming. A story this wild? It felt like destiny throwing her a lifeline. "Talia, are you sure this isn't gossip?" "Very sure. I've worked with him for 2 years. Not even a whisper of a girlfriend. And trust me, plenty have tried." Sophia exhaled softly, her mind already racing with words. "So you want me to write about him?" "Yes, but don't mention his name. Just share his dilemma. People love that kind of thing. You'll get traction. And maybe it will help him too. Maybe he'll realize it's not something to be ashamed of." Sophia hesitated, but she needed the views, needed something to revive her blog. And besides, it wasn't like she was revealing his identity. Lagos was full of billionaires. No one would know which one was the virgin. "All right," she said finally. "I'll write it." And she did. She spent hours crafting the piece, typing with the confidence of someone who believed she was doing harmless storytelling. She wrote with flair, with humor, with a little bit of spice, exaggerating the cold billionaire persona Talia described. She painted him as a brilliant but emotionally unavailable recluse, a man who hid behind wealth to avoid intimacy, someone who probably held meetings in silence and preferred spreadsheets to people. She did not mean to be cruel, but some of her sentences were not kind. When she finished, she read the article aloud. "Money can buy anything in Lagos, except the courage to hold someone's hand. And our anonymous Banana Island billionaire knows this better than anyone. He's 30, rich, handsome, and untouched. Maybe he isn't waiting for love. Maybe he's hiding from it." Sophia shrugged. It was catchy, honest-ish, a little dramatic, maybe, but all blogs exaggerated. She added it to her website, clicked publish, and went about her day. And by evening, the blog had 35,000 views. By midnight, 190,000. By the next morning, it had exploded across Lagos social media, TikTok skits, Twitter threads, Instagram memes. But the most viral comment was a simple one. "Who is the billionaire virgin of Lagos?" Sophia felt a rush of adrenaline. Finally a breakthrough. She poured herself a cup of Milo, smiled at her screen, and whispered, "Thank you, anonymous billionaire." Meanwhile, in Banana Island, the real man behind the article sat in his glass-walled office with the serenity of someone who had spent his life in control. Until that morning. Shawn Khalifa stared at the article on his tablet. No logo, no name, just a blog title and words that sliced deeper than they should have. Cold, closed off, emotionally unavailable, afraid of women. He exhaled sharply, jaw tightening. It wasn't that the details were wrong. They were painfully accurate, too accurate. Whoever wrote this knew things only someone close could know. But what hit him hardest was the humiliation. It wasn't just gossip, it was public mockery. He closed his eyes and forced his breathing steady. The world saw him as the unshakable billionaire, the man who built a tech empire from scratch. But beneath the suits and precision, he was human, made of fears, insecurities, and private battles he had never intended anyone to know. And now they were online, for millions to laugh at. He tapped the desk twice. "Get in here," he said, voice low. His head of security stepped in immediately. "Find the owner of this blog. Immediately." "Sir, she didn't reveal your name. Tracking her may take time." Shawn's voice cut through the room like ice. "Then work faster." Within hours, his private investigators traced IP addresses, server pathways, social media connections, and digital footprints that had taken Sophia years to build. They found her image, found her name, found her address. And then they presented it all to Shawn in a quiet, tense boardroom. He studied the photo pinned to the file. Sophia Alexander. A young, beautiful content creator with bright eyes and a mouth made for trouble. She looked fearless, until he remembered the words she had written. Words that had wounded him more than any business betrayal. His voice was soft, but dangerous. "Prepare the car. I'm going to see her myself." When the black SUV stopped in front of Sophia's Lekki Phase 1 apartment the next morning, she thought maybe she'd won a giveaway. She did not expect two men in tailor suits walking toward her with an air of quiet authority. "Miss Sophia Alexander?" one asked. Her heart skipped. "Yes. Mr. Khalifa would like to speak with you." She froze. The cup in her hand trembled. Her breath stilled. It couldn't be. The virgin billionaire was real, and he had found her. Sophia swallowed hard. What? What does he want?" The man gave a small, unreadable smile. "You wrote about him. Now he wants to talk." The world tilted beneath her feet. In that moment, Sophia Alexander understood one thing clearly. Her life was no longer in her hands. It belonged to the billionaire she had unintentionally exposed. Sophia Alexander had never been inside a billionaire's car before, and certainly not one that looked like it could outrun the apocalypse. The black SUV was silent inside, the air cool and scented with something sharp and expensive. The windows were tinted so deeply she couldn't see the world outside. She sat stiffly in the back seat, her heart banging against her ribs, wondering how on earth her life had gone from instant noodles to billionaire confrontation in 12 hours. The two men who escorted her didn't speak. They sat in the front like carved statues, offering no comfort, no reassurance. Not even a quick, "Relax, he won't kill you." Nothing. So Sophia whispered it to herself. "He won't kill me, right?" No answer. Great. The SUV glided through Ikoyi and over the bridge leading in Banana Island. On a normal day, Sophia would have pressed her face to the window to admire the mansions, the perfect lawns, the rare quiet of Lagos's most expensive neighborhood. But this morning her stomach was in knots. They slowed before a mansion that looked like something designed for the cover of Architectural Digest's tall glass walls, sculpted concrete, clean brutalist lines softened by tropical greenery. Everything screamed wealth, taste, and danger. The gates opened automatically. Sophia swallowed. "What have I done?" The SUV stopped and the back door opened. One of the men gestured politely. "This way, Miss Alexander." Her legs wobbled as she stepped out. The front of the mansion was so intimidating it made her feel like an uninvited guest at heaven's door. She was ushered into a wide, minimalist foyer with marble floors and a glass staircase spiraling into the upper level. Then she saw him, Shawn Khalifa. He stood at the far end of the room, near a wall of windows overlooking the lagoon. He didn't turn immediately. His back was to her, posture straight, arms folded loosely. He wore a charcoal suit that hugged his frame like it had been molded onto him. His hair was dark, neat, too perfect. Everything about him was precise. Then he turned, and Sophia forgot how to breathe. His face was impossible. Sharp jawline, clean features, a mouth that looked like it never learned how to smile, and eyes so intense they felt like a force field. He didn't walk toward her. He approached each step, controlled, quiet, deliberate. Sophia's palms began to sweat. This man was not the awkward recluse Talia had described. He was dangerously composed. When he stopped in front of her, he was close enough that she could see the faint shadow of stubble on his jaw and the coldness in his eyes. Miss Alexander. His voice was low, smooth, but threaded with quiet anger. She forced a nervous smile. Hi. Hello. Good morning? He didn't respond. He held up a tablet, the screen showing her blog. Her blog, her article, her words, loud and bright for both of them to see. Sophia's stomach plummeted. He lowered the tablet slowly. Why? He asked. Did you write lies about me? Sophia's throat closed. This was bad. This was very, very bad. I didn't mean for it to sound like that, she stammered. I didn't name you. I didn't even know it would spread that far. I didn't mean... You wrote, he said, cutting her off, that I am emotionally damaged, that I am incapable of normal social function, that I hide behind my money, that I am afraid of human touch. His eyes bored into hers. Tell me, Miss Alexander, where did you get these details? Her tongue refused to move. She couldn't throw Talia under the bus. She couldn't. Shawn stepped closer, his presence towering. Are you refusing to answer? No, she said quickly. I can't tell you. I promised someone, but it wasn't malicious. I swear, I honestly thought I was writing an anonymous story. I didn't know the details were so personally accurate. He studied her, every inch of his face unreadable. You humiliated me. It wasn't shouted. It wasn't dramatic. It was quiet, personal, deep. Sophia felt her chest tighten. She opened her mouth, closed it, then finally whispered, I'm sorry. Shawn shook his head slowly. Sorry doesn't erase anything. My board saw this article. My mother saw it, my team, investors, people who respect me. She winced. I can fix it. Just tell me how. He looked at her, then truly looked at her, observing the fear, the guilt, the sincerity. His expression shifted, only slightly, but enough for her to notice. You will fix it, he said calmly. You will write the truth. Sophia blinked. The truth? You will interview me, he continued. You will create a new article or video, whatever you prefer, and you will paint an accurate picture this time. Not gossip, not sensationalism. Facts. Her mind spun. You want me to interview you? He nodded once. You started this. Now you will finish it. But why me? She asked. You could hire any PR expert, any journalist, anyone professional. Because, Shawn said, meeting her gaze, it needs to come from the same mouth that damaged me, the same hands that typed those words, the same platform that spread them. Sophia's breath caught. This wasn't just revenge. This was control. This was him reclaiming his narrative. I can't force you, he added quietly, but if you refuse, my lawyers will handle the matter differently. Her heart dropped. You'd sue me? Shawn didn't blink. I don't want to, but I will protect myself. Sophia pressed a hand to her forehead, panic rising. She couldn't afford a lawsuit. She could barely afford groceries. Okay, she whispered. Okay, I'll do it. Shawn nodded once as if dismissing her panic entirely. Good, you start tomorrow. Sophia blinked. Tomorrow? As in, tomorrow? A faint flicker of something passed through his eyes. Amusement? Irritation? She couldn't tell. Yes, he said. You will spend time here. Interview me. Learn who I actually am. And then repair what you broke. Her heart pounded wildly. Time here? With him? In this mansion? He turned away, heading toward the window again. You can leave now, he said softly. My driver will take you home. Sophia stood frozen for a moment, trying to process everything. When she finally walked toward the door, he spoke again. And Sophia? She stopped. Yes? He didn't turn. His voice was soft but sharp. Next time you write about me, be sure you know the difference between truth and entertainment. A shiver raced down her spine. She left the mansion more shaken than she'd ever been, and with one overwhelming realization. The real story hadn't even begun. Sophia Alexander had expected her first official work day with Shawn Khalifa to feel like walking into a lion's den. She imagined clipped responses, cold stares, and a man determined to remind her of every mistake she'd made. What she didn't expect was the silence. Deep, intentional, unnerving silence. When she arrived the next morning, she was escorted past the mansion's massive glass doors into an office that felt more like an art gallery than a workspace. Sleek, black marble table, floor-to-ceiling windows, Lagos Lagoon shimmering in the morning sun, and minimalist decor that screamed wealth without trying. Shawn sat at the far end of the long table, typing on his laptop, not acknowledging her presence even when she stepped in. He heard her. He definitely knew she was there, but he didn't look up. Sophia cleared her throat. "Good morning." A beat passed, then another. Finally, he responded, without looking away from his screen. "Sit." She obeyed, sinking into a chair beside him. She kept her hands clasped so he wouldn't see their nervous shaking. "I thought we could begin with," she started. "Your assumptions," he said, still typing. "What?" He stopped then, closed the laptop slowly and turned his head toward her. His eyes were cool, patient, painfully observant. "You wrote confidently about who I am, Miss Alexander. Let's start with what you think you know." Her throat tightened. I didn't mean to assume. You only needed content," he finished for her. "I understand." That stung more than she expected. He leaned back in his chair, studying her like a puzzle piece that had forced itself into the wrong box. "So," he said, "ask your first question." It felt like an exam she hadn't studied for. Okay," she swallowed. "Why are you so private?" He raised a brow. "Is that the first thing Lagos wants to know?" "Well, yes," she admitted. "Then they can know the truth." He looked out the window for a moment, as if searching for the right words. "Privacy isn't fear, it's self-preservation. I built my first company at 21. I've been hunted by investors, media, and opportunists ever since. Being private is not a flaw, it's survival." Sophia nodded slowly. Already her article felt more insulting than she remembered. She scribbled notes. "Another question. Why have you never been in a relationship?" Shawn's jaw tensed. "That's personal." She froze. Sorry, I didn't mean, but you wrote about it anyway." Her cheeks flushed with shame. "I actually didn't think you'd ever read it." A faint, humorless smile tugged his mouth. "I read everything." They locked eyes, and something shifted, not hostility, not warmth, something in between. A quiet understanding. Sophia took a breath. Then, why? He turned away from her, fingers drumming lightly against the table. "I've never had a relationship because I don't give pieces of myself away easily. Not emotionally, not physically. I don't connect lightly." His voice softened, barely above a whisper. "In the few times I tried, people wanted my money more than they wanted me." Sophia's pen stilled. That line hit deeper than she expected. Looking at him now, powerful, composed, untouchable, she never would have guessed he carried such isolation. She spoke gently. "That must have hurt." He didn't look at her. "People don't hurt me. Expectations do." A quiet moment followed, filled only by the hum of the air conditioning and the distant splash of water against the lagoon. Sophia felt a tightness in her chest. Not pity, something heavier. Guilt, connection, sympathy. Her next question came out softer. "What do you do when you're not working?" He blinked, surprised. "I work. That's not an answer." He hesitated, then exhaled. "I read," he said. "I cook. I like quiet spaces, boats, music without lyrics." "That sounds peaceful." "It sounds lonely," he corrected. Sophia's eyes lifted to him sharply. She didn't expect honesty. Not from him, not this soon. She scribbled again, slower this time, thoughtful. He watched her pen move, his expression unreadable. Then, unexpectedly, "What about you? Why are you a blogger? She blinked. Me? Yes, he said. I'm trusting you with my truths. I would like to understand yours. Her chest warmed. She wasn't sure if it was from gratitude or the way his eyes softened when he said it. Well, she began, I've always liked storytelling, and I wanted a platform that was mine, something I could grow from scratch. You're passionate about it, he said. She nodded. Too passionate sometimes, which leads to mistakes. His gaze held hers. But you own them. She swallowed. I'm trying. Silence settled again, but this time it felt different, not cold, not intimidating. Softer, warmer, like a blanket settling over the both of them. Would you, she tried, let me spend more time around you? I mean, to understand you better. For the article. He nodded thoughtfully. Yes, if we're doing this, we do it properly. What does that mean? He stood and walked toward the kitchen area beyond the office, a gleaming space of matte black counters and seamless appliances. It means, he said, you'll shadow me. Meetings, meals, conversations, whatever is required for you to write with accuracy instead of imagination. Sophia blinked, startled. Shadow you? Like your personal documentary crew? Something like that. She followed him reluctantly, her footsteps echoing against the glass floor until they reached the kitchen island. He poured water into 2 glasses. Hydrate, he said, handing her one. She stared. You brought me water. People drink, he replied flatly. Yes, but I didn't think you... Never mind. He watched her take a sip, his eyes lingering a moment too long. Not intrusive, just observing. And something in that gaze made her chest flutter. He wasn't as cold as Talia said. He wasn't rude, he wasn't awkward. He was cautious, careful, structured. And beneath all of that, there was a man longing to be known. She felt it, deeply. They talked for hours about work, about reputation, about the public image he never asked for. Sophia discovered he loved architecture, hated small talk, and had a dry sense of humor that appeared only when he was comfortable. A humor that appeared at least twice today. When she finally stood to leave, the afternoon sun painted warm gold across the glass walls. Shawn walked her to the door, not because he had to, but because he chose to. Just before she stepped out, he spoke again. I don't trust easily, Sophia. She turned. I know. But today, you listened. Not as a blogger, as a person. Her breath hitched. He held her gaze, something vulnerable flickering beneath the control. That matters. Sophia walked out of his mansion, with her heart pounding not from fear this time, but from something far more dangerous. Interest, curiosity, in the terrifying possibility that the man she had unintentionally exposed was becoming someone she wanted to understand, someone she wanted to protect, someone she might even begin to care for. The real story was unfolding, and she was no longer just writing it. She was in it. Sophia Alexander had expected that spending a week shadowing Shawn Khalifa would give her material for the article. What she hadn't expected was how effortless it became to fall into his rhythm, the quiet mornings, the soft, classical music he preferred, the silent concentration he worked in, broken only by the occasional dry comment that made her laugh harder than she should. What she also didn't expect was how quickly Lagos would sniff out the truth. It started with a tweet. Why does this new blogger article sound suspiciously like Shawn Khalifa? Then someone reposted his photo next to her original post, adding, connecting dots, people. The anonymous billionaire is right here. Within hours, blogs began speculating. Within a day, YouTube channels uploaded Who is the Virgin Billionaire of Lagos videos. Within 48 hours, it was everywhere. Sophia stared at her phone, horrified as notifications flooded in. Comment after comment, tag after tag. DMs asking if she had written about the infamous CEO. The worst part? Shawn saw it before she could warn him. He summoned her to his office that morning. When she stepped inside, she knew instantly that something was wrong. Shawn wasn't sitting. He was standing by the window, back stiff, shoulders sharp. The lagoon behind him shimmered innocently, unaware of the storm inside the room. Sophia approached slowly. "Shawn?" He didn't turn. "Did you know?" he asked quietly. Her breath caught. "Know what?" His voice was calm, but calm in that terrifying way a sea looks before a hurricane. "That your original article is now being linked to me. That people are calling me the billionaire virgin online. That investors are calling my mother. That the board wants a statement." She swallowed hard. "No. I mean, yes, I saw the rumors. But I never said your name. I never confirmed anything." "Rumors," he repeated, almost scoffing. "Rumors exist because someone created the spark. You." Sophia winced. "Shawn, I never wanted this to happen. You know I didn't." "Do I?" He turned then, and the look in his eyes almost made her step back. Not rage, not hatred, disappointment. That hurt more. "You said you'd fix it," he said. "Instead, your presence in this house only amplified the speculation." "I didn't leak anything," she insisted. "I didn't hint to anyone. I have no reason to." "That's the problem," he said, voice dropping. "I don't know what reason you have or don't. I barely know you." She blinked, stung. "We've spent the whole week together. And somehow," he said softly, "I trusted you." He said it like a confession he regretted making. Sophia felt her chest clench. "Please don't say it like that." "Like what?" "Like I betrayed you intentionally. Like I wanted this chaos. You know what my blog is? You know how desperate I was?" "Yes," he said sharply. "Desperate enough to write about me without knowing me. Desperate enough to paint me as some emotionally stunted boy. Desperate enough to risk my privacy." She flinched. Every word was a knife. He stepped away from her, rubbing a hand over his jaw. "I can't do this. I can't have my life spiral because of something that wasn't my choice." She whispered, "What are you saying?" "That this partnership," he said, "was a mistake." The room seemed to tilt. Sophia's throat tightened painfully. "You're ending it." "Yes." Her eyes stung. She tried to breathe steadily, but the hurt came too fast, too raw, too deep. "Fine," she managed. "If that's what you want." He didn't answer. She took one step backward, then another. She reached the door before she stopped. Without turning, she said quietly, "For what it's worth, I'm sorry, Shawn. Not because you're angry, but because you didn't deserve any of this." Then she walked out of the mansion, out of his life, and didn't look back. The next 24 hours were a blur. Sophia didn't eat, she didn't sleep. She barely moved from her bed in her Lecky apartment. The guilt clawed at her, the regret drowned her, and the heartbreak, unexpected, unwanted, sat like a weight on her chest. She had ruined everything. The next morning, with trembling hands and a racing heart, she opened her camera and recorded one final video. No makeup, no filters, just truth. Her voice shook as she spoke. "I wrote something carelessly, something that hurt a man who didn't deserve it. I didn't know him when I wrote it. I judged him, assumed things, and the shame is mine alone. Some stories are not ours to tell, and some hearts deserve gentleness, not gossip. I'm sorry." When she uploaded the video, she didn't expect forgiveness. She expected nothing at all. But the internet surprised her. Comments poured in. "This is mature. You owned your mistake. Respect for this honesty. We need more creators like you." Sophia's tears fell silently. She didn't do it for praise. She did it for him. Meanwhile, across Banana Island, Shawn sat alone in his home office, staring at Sophia's video playing on his screen. She wasn't dramatic. She wasn't defensive. She wasn't trying to gain followers or sympathy. She was sincere. Her voice cracked when she said, "Some hearts deserve gentleness." Something inside him cracked too. He leaned back in his chair, exhaling slowly, painfully. He watched the video again, and again, and a fourth time. Each time it hit harder. He remembered her laughter in his kitchen, the way she softened whenever he spoke about something vulnerable, the careful way she listened. He remembered the guilt in her eyes the day she apologized. He remembered how she said, "You didn't deserve this." For the first time since the rumors began, Shawn questioned whether he'd been fair. He stood, grabbed his car keys, and left the mansion without security, without hesitation. He drove through Lagos traffic, heart pounding in a way that felt unfamiliar and ache, a longing, a realization. When he reached her apartment complex in Lekki, he didn't send his guards. He didn't summon her. He climbed the stairs himself. He knocked. Sophia opened the door wearing an oversized t-shirt, eyes red from crying, breath catching when she saw him. "Shawn," she whispered. He didn't wait. He stepped inside, closed the door behind him, and looked into her eyes. Really looked, seeing the regret, the fear, the hope. And then he said softly, "You didn't betray me, Sophia. I was just too afraid to trust." Her eyes filled instantly. "I didn't mean to hurt you." "I know," he said. "I watched your video." She blinked. "You did?" He nodded. 3 times. 3? He hesitated, then corrected himself. 4. She let out a shaky laugh. And for the first time, he smiled. Just barely. Just enough. Then he whispered, "Sophia, come back." Her breath caught. "Come back to what?" "To the truth," he said gently. "To me." Her heart slammed against her ribs, because somewhere in those fragile words, a new beginning waited. For both of them. The world moved on from the virgin billionaire of Lagos, faster than it had created him. Other scandals rose, trends shifted, and Lagos found new headlines to obsess over. But in a quiet glass mansion on Banana Island, far from the noise and jokes and hashtags, something softer had taken root. Love. Careful, unexpected, slow-burning love. 6 months after Shawn knocked on her Lekki apartment door, Sophia Alexander sat cross-legged on the floor of his living room, editing a video on her laptop. Outside, the lagoon glowed under the early evening sky, the sun dipping low, turning the water into melted gold. Soft music played in the background, one of Shawn's lyricless playlists. Her channel was different now. No gossip, no careless speculation. She talked about healing, accountability, growth. People followed her for her honesty, not her drama. "Your face is scrunched again." Shawn's voice floated from behind her. She glanced over her shoulder. Oh, he stood there in a simple black t-shirt and gray joggers, bare feet, looking 1,000 times more dangerous than any corporate suit ever had. His hair was slightly mussed, like he'd run his fingers through it one too many times. He held 2 mugs of tea. "I'm concentrating," she said. "You're frowning," he corrected, walking toward her. He handed her a mug and sank onto the sofa just behind her, close enough that she could lean back and feel his knee against her shoulder. "Tell your subscribers," he continued dryly, "that frowning causes wrinkles." She shot him a look. "So does stress. And who causes most of mine?" His lips tilted. "You chose me." That was the thing, really. She had chosen him, and every day he chose her back. Sophia turned slightly so she could see his face properly. Even now, after months of being with him, sometimes she still had to pause and just look. He was softer at home, less ice, more warmth. The world might still see a controlled billionaire, but she saw the man who made her tea, who sent her random voice notes about which book he was reading, who texted her, "Are you home safe?" Every night she wasn't sleeping in his bed. Her chest warmed. "You're quiet," he observed. "Thinking." "About?" "You," she said simply. Something flickered in his eyes, that same vulnerable light he only showed her in private. He set his mug down on the side table and leaned forward, resting his elbows on his knees. "Sophia," he said quietly, "there's something I want to talk to you about." She closed her laptop slowly, heart picking up speed. "Okay, that sounds serious." "It is," he admitted. He stood and walked toward the glass wall, the night sky slowly deepening beyond it. Then he turned back to her, hands in his pockets, gaze intent. "The night you published that first article about me," he began, "I felt exposed. reduced to a headline, a joke. She winced. I'm so... He lifted a hand gently. Let me finish. She bit her lip and nodded. I thought that was who you were, he said. Someone who used people for views, someone careless with other people's pain. I told myself I would never trust a person like that. She looked down, her throat tight. But then, he continued softly, I watched you walk into this house. I watched you listen. I watched you apologize without excuses. I watched you choose the harder thing, accountability, when you could have kept hiding. His voice dropped, and I realized you were nothing like the version I created in my anger. Her eyes burned. Shawn. He crossed the room slowly until he stood in front of her. She tilted her head up to meet his gaze. He sank to his knees so they were eye level. Sophia Alexander, he said, her name almost a caress. You turned my worst humiliation into the doorway for the greatest gift of my life. Her breath hitched. What gift? She whispered. You, he said simply. You, seeing me. You, staying. You, teaching me that trust doesn't make me weak. It makes me alive. Her vision blurred. Tears gathered stubbornly. I love you, Sophia. The words were steady, clear, without hesitation. Not like a man testing feelings. Like a man stating a conclusion he'd already examined 1,000 times. Her heart slammed against her ribs. Say it again. A faint smile touched his lips. I love you, he repeated, slower this time. I love you, and I want to spend the rest of my life with you. Not as content, not as a secret, as my choice, my partner, my home. Tears slipped free. She laughed, choked and watery. You're going to ruin my makeup. You look beautiful, he said. You always do. She swallowed, overwhelmed. Shawn. He took a breath, deeper now, as if this next part cost him something, not in a painful way, but in a sacred one. You know about my virginity, he said softly. The world joked about it, speculated, ridiculed. For a long time I thought it was something to be ashamed of, something that made me less of a man. Her hand found his, fingers threading through his gently. But standing here with you now, he continued, I'm proud. She blinked. Proud? He nodded. I kept every part of myself untouched, he said quietly. Not out of fear, but because, deep down, I think I was waiting. Waiting for someone whose heart felt like mine. Someone I could trust with all of me, my mind, my fears, my body, my future. His thumb brushed her knuckles. I didn't know it then, he said, voice roughening, but I was waiting for you. I'm proud that the first woman who will ever know me completely is the woman my heart beats for. And that's you, Sophia. Only you. Her breath shook. The love in his eyes, the sincerity in his words, it was too much and not enough, and exactly what she'd always wanted. I love you too, she whispered. I love you. More than any headline, more than any story I could ever tell. You're the one miracle I never planned. He exhaled like a man finally reaching shore. Come here, he murmured. He cupped her face gently, his hands warm against her skin, and leaned in. The first kiss was slow, reverent, a question asked between two trembling hearts. His lips brushed hers carefully, like he was memorizing the shape of her mouth. She melted into him, fingers curling into his shirt, the world shrinking to the space where they touched. The second kiss was deeper, his breath mingling with hers, his hands sliding to the back of her neck, holding her like something precious. Her pulse roared in her ears, heat blooming in her chest and spreading outward, every nerve awake and alive. When he drew her closer against him, her body fit perfectly against his, like they'd been designed as two halves of the same thought. His hands traced the line of her back with deliberate tenderness, sending shivers down her spine. Her heart raced as their bodies pressed together, warmth meeting warmth. A slow, unspoken promise thrumming in every inch of contact. His mouth moved from her lips to her cheek, to the edge of her jaw, each kiss gentle but charged with meaning. She closed her eyes, letting herself feel the thrum of his heartbeat where their chests met. The careful way he held her, like he was terrified of hurting her, even now. When his forehead came to rest against hers, their breaths mingling, it felt like the whole world had gone quiet just to witness this. "I'm yours," he whispered, his voice husky. "Every first, every second, every version of me I've ever hidden. I want all of it to belong to you." Tears slipped down her cheeks again, but this time they were soft, grateful tears. "And I'm yours," she replied, her fingers gently tracing his jaw. "Every story, every scar, every tomorrow. You're the only man I'd rewrite my entire life for." He laughed softly, brushing his lips over hers once more. Later, as they lay together beneath the soft glow of the recessed lights, his arm wrapped securely around her, the lagoon stretching silently beyond the glass, Sophia felt something she had never felt in all her years chasing content. Peace. Not the absence of noise. Lagos would never be quiet, but the calm of being exactly where she was meant to be. "Are you happy?" she asked quietly, her head on his chest. He pressed a kiss into her hair. "More than I knew was possible," he replied. "I lost control of my story and somehow ended up with the best ending." She smiled against him. "Correction," she murmured. "This isn't the ending. This is just the part where the camera fades and we get to live the rest off screen." He tightened his hold on her, heart beating steady beneath her ear. "My favorite part," he said. And in their glass house on Banana Island, with the city lights flickering in the distance and the water whispering against the shore, the man the world once mocked as the virgin billionaire held the woman who had seen him, hurt him, healed him, and chose to be his.